Okay, you lit.
What's going on, everyone? What's going on? It is Wednesday, November 20th, 2024, and we are back with another live here on the Torian Ray Reloaded channel. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to go ahead and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you are new to the channel, and if you are new, I am glad that you are here. Shout out to everybody in the chat, all the members, all the mods, all of you. I'm glad that you are all here this evening. So as you can see by the title, this is part 2 to the pre-recorded video that I did earlier today about Jaylen Brown confronting Stephen A. Smith. Now, like I told you in the video, I said I was most likely going to do a part 2 to this, but in the form of a live stream because I wanted y'all to hear the interview for yourself. What I read to you was an article, but it only covered just a little bit. The entire interview was about 13 minutes long. Now, I only have the audio of it, mainly for copyright reasons. And I just have it a thumbnail over it, but you'll be able to hear it. But put a 1 in the chat. Well, before I get into all that, let me go ahead and acknowledge the people who are here so far. We got Hacksign KT, Miss Nisi, Savion Draco Zero, Cosmo Fury, Wallow J, Troy Scott, Brooklyn Queen, Kimberly, Jacoby, Iron Will, Chris Vesey, Celebrity Style Magazine, Derek Parker. And that is it so far. It's not a lot of people in here right now. I don't know why that is. Probably because the notifications didn't go out like that, but it is what it is. But people will start pouring in eventually. So we're gonna play the audio, and of course, I'm gonna stop and interject whenever need be as it pertains to this. But put a 1 in the chat if you watched the pre-recorded video that I did earlier this morning. That way you get an idea of where we're headed with this. All right, let's see. We also got John Gilroy just got in here. Simo27, Jago the Rogue. Miss Nisi said 1. Hacksign said 2. I missed it. But that's fine. You can always catch the playback. But this is like the meat and potatoes of it. That way you can hear the entire interview. We got Tedra said 1. Jago said 1. What's going on, Derry B? All right, y'all. So let me go ahead. And even though I only have the audio, I'm gonna go ahead and play the disclaimer just in case, because I did pull this from YouTube. And shout out to Jaylen Brown for actually confronting Stephen A. Smith the way he should be. He did it in a professional way, but he also didn't hold back at the same time. And it's about time somebody did, to be truthfully honest. But let's go ahead and get into this.
Jaylen Brown, it's not so much that he's underrated. It's that he's just not liked because of his, quote, "I am better than you" attitude. He knows it. It's the same reason he is not as marketable as he should be. That's what an NBA source just sent me. I don't know that to be the case. I like Jaylen Brown. I know a lot of people that like Jaylen Brown.
And I know you see the shirt.
That's right. State your source. State your source.
Yes.
Are we going to get into all of that?
Oh, yeah. Jaylen Brown came in ready. he had a whole shirt on saying state your source. He was ready for it. And that's the thing. Stephen A., why would you run with something like this from an unnamed source and you're supposed to be a quote-unquote journalist or a sports commentator? That's so unprofessional. But then again, this is Stephen A. Smith we're talking about here.
That.
For sure.
No question.
And honestly, I wore this shirt because like this is where I wanted to start the conversation.
Okay.
Get into it. And to be honest, you know,
pull the mic closer to you, so I want to make sure the audience hears you. Go ahead.
Absolutely. I think it's deeper than rap. I think it's bigger than both you and I. Like obviously your credentials are through the roof, you know, covering AI to First Take being the #1 show, and now taking the world by storm with your new podcast. So I wore this shirt, but I honestly, I know just because of your credentials that you're never going to reveal the sources because you abide by something called journalistic integrity.
Right.
But hear me out.
Sure.
A couple months back, on your platform, you recited.
And I like, first off, before we even get too far into it, I like that Jaylen Brown. See, Jaylen Brown didn't come in with the rah-rah, you know, because he could have went there. He did, like I said, he did it very professionally, but he wanted to make sure he gets his point across. And he started it off with this. He's like, Stephen A., before we even get into whatever it is you want to talk about with me, we're going to address this issue right here that kicked off a couple months ago. He says, I'm not about to let that slide. Before we go any further with this conversation, we're going to discuss what you put out there about me from this unnamed, most likely unreliable source. Iron Will said, what does his shirt say? State your sources. That's what Jaylen Brown's shirt says state your sources. That was like I guess you could say a subliminal dig at Stephen A. Smith.
An unnamed source who I feel like attacked my character.
That was what we played on a cold open, by the way. Sure.
And one, I didn't really get a chance to defend myself, and two, you know, the damage kind of already is done. And I think journalistic integrity goes two ways.
Yes, sir.
So for me, I think a lot of people were upset, and as was I, because I understand journalistic integrity, and I understand how that works, but I also understand the idea of normal integrity as well, and I also want to maintain and protect that.
Sure.
So to start off, I wanted to ask you a question.
Sure.
And profession aside, you know, as a #1 reporter with the biggest platform,
yes, sir,
in the world, I hold you accountable.
Please do.
I'm so glad he said that, because for some odd reason, it's a lot of people out there that don't hold this man accountable for the stuff that he says. And it's gone on for far too long, in my honest opinion. Jaylen Brown is a real one. That's why they don't like him. He's not bending the knee. He's not kowtowing, and they don't like it. And then to add on him being on the Celtics and they are the current NBA champions, that's a thorn in their side.
Is there ever any dissension from what you report on as a man? I mean, what you report on as a reporter, and then what you stand for as an individual? Like when you go home, is there ever any dissension in the decisions that you make?
Well, for the most part, no, because I find myself to be humane and fair. But
oh, really, Stephen A., you find yourself to be humane and fair? Do we need to pull up all the receipts that you've done of all the people that you've gone in on, mainly black players over the years? All the outbursts that you've had? I mean, there's a digital list, literally digital receipts of all the nasty and tacky things that you have said, that he has said over the years about especially black male athletes. I mean, we can go down the list. Kyrie Irving, my God, I didn't think that one was going to end. Him doing what he's doing now with Jaylen Brown. I guess you can throw Colin Kaepernick into the mix as well. LeBron James. He's the punching bag for damn near everybody. I mean, the list goes on and on. Exactly, Miss Nisi. Respect to Jaylen for calling him out, and not only calling him out, but being in front of him to do it. He's not doing this on a phone call, not through a text message, not going back and forth on social media, not even on a Zoom call. He's in the room. This picture that you see is the thumbnail from Stephen A. Smith's podcast. He's in the room with him, sitting across from him as he's having this conversation.
But in the same
And then in the same breath, just like what Iron Will said, he will go in and all these black players, but look at who he decides to defend. You defended Jerry Jones when that picture came up of him at when they were trying to desegregate those schools back in the day, and you tried to sit up there and defend it.
breath, when we take this example, let me use this example that you're talking about. But what I said was text to me about you. And by the way, others had said it as well. I wasn't talking about how I feel. You and I have been cool for years. You've always been good to me. What I was trying to say was, this brother is great. He's great on the basketball court. He's great off the basketball court. He's an individual of very high integrity, highly educated, whom most people that you encounter considers you nothing short of brilliant. And yet, these opportunities that clearly you are deserving of and should be afforded to you was not. Mm-hmm. And so when I brought that up, I literally get a text in the middle of the show. And immediately after the show, I got 3 separate phone calls. And they were like, yo, this guy is not liked by some of the powers that be. Mm-hmm. Because...
Gee, I wonder why that is. I wonder why that is. And the thing is, I know Jaylen Brown has to know why that is. We know why it is. He conducts himself in a very distinguished manner that sets him apart from a lot of his peers. And they don't like that. See, the thing is, when you are a black man that stands on business, you become a pariah to the societal eye. And we know who holds the societal eye in the palm of their hand. Because we've seen it happen to others before Jaylen Brown. And unfortunately, we're probably going to see it with others after him.
Because he's smart, because he's outspoken, because he's principled and he's defiant and he's not easily manipulated, these are things that are costing him. I didn't look at it as something that was smearing your character. I looked at it as individuals basically pointing out that you're not liked. And I completely understand why folks who are in positions of power and decision-making positions, you wouldn't like somebody because they usually don't like folks that are principled.
I agree.
And that's the thing. And guess what, Stephen A., that's one thing you can't say about yourself. And he knows that. Remember, Stephen A. is the same guy that made that famous, well, not famous, that infamous statement about someone in the chat. Could remind me what it was. He says, when I wake up in the morning, I only have like a mission, like 2 goals to make. I always forget how that line goes, but someone put it in the chat. The minute that he said that or put that out there, because I think he posted it in a tweet. The second he put that out there, that should have told each and every person what type of man Stephen A. Smith is and will always be. This man is very corporate, which means he will rarely stand on anything that does not involve making money. To figure out how I can make my bosses some money and to find a way to get some of it. And when I heard that, that literally just also told me this man will step on anyone's toes to get what he wants, no matter what he has to do in order to achieve that. You have to be careful and wary about being around people like that, because they will pull the rug from under you in a heartbeat and not think anything of it.
And I wasn't holding you accountable for anything that you said. It was that your platform is so large. You have the #1 platform in the world, First Take, your podcast now. What I was asking was, is there a dissension but what you report on, and also how you carry yourself as an individual and as a man? Like, how do you differentiate the two? But to be honest, I'm gonna come clean.
Sure.
Like, I wanted to have this conversation, but honestly, I couldn't wait to address this unnamed source.
Right.
I know they probably will be watching this, because people like that are always watching. And I wanted to let them know that I had a great summer. Like, just as simple as that. Like, I traveled the world. I went to Umrah. I won 2 MVPs. I, launched Black Wall Street in Oakland, and made a music video. I had a blast.
Right.
Did y'all hear that second part he just said? Let me rewind that back a little bit.
MVPs. I, launched Black Wall Street in Oakland.
Launched Black Wall Street in Oakland. Sounds familiar, don't it? He even said he wanted to bring it to Boston, where he currently plays. Now, that might be a bit of a task because we know the history of Boston. See, it's going to get to the point where they're going to start saying that Jaylen Brown is doing too much. I'm telling you, they are probably right now in the lab trying to find a smear campaign to use on this dude. This was the test. So here you have this successful Black man who is trying to do something for the community. And the usual suspects don't like that. Color me shocked. But shout out to Jaylen for doing it. I think also when I was looking it up, that's what y'all heard me typing. I think this is also in collaboration with Jason Kidd. I think this is something that they were working on together.
And made a music video. I had a blast.
Right.
So I wanted to let them know that I had a great summer. I really wanted to address them directly, but I feel like since this all kind of happened on your platform, I want to send a message to you, to them.
Right.
So he's basically using Stephen A. Smith as the middleman because this unnamed source sent him the message. Now, I have a question. Now that we've gotten this far, why would this unnamed source send that message to Stephen A. Smith in his platform? Why didn't they send it to anybody else, but they sent it to him? It makes me question, does Stephen A. Smith know this person? But they're trying to remain anonymous. That's my question. Because it could be an unnamed source, but that simply also means this individual, this source, does indeed have a name. You're just not saying who they are because they're choosing to not be put out there for public consumption. Just a question I had. They reached out to him in his platform, specifically sent him a text, not call the station, not send it to any of the higher ups or anyone who manages Stephen A. Smith. They text him on his phone, which means they have his number.
You only the person that knows who the source is. And I basically wanted to say to them that I think it's cowardice. I think historically unnamed sources have attacked some of our greats. And we are not responsible for what they lack in design. Frankly, they can call all their buddies, they pals, and friends from all over the world, all the unnamed sources, and they can shove it where they got it from. Whether they think I'm marketable or not, I walk with God. I'm gonna be me and stand with my community in this life and the next, and that's my journalistic integrity.
Okay. There it is. Shout out to Jaylen Brown. He said that is my journalistic integrity. And I'm so glad, because for a while, a lot of people will see a lot of the athletes, a lot of the black athletes, since that's who we're talking about here, will go along to get along. They will say anything to appease the people that pay them, and they wouldn't really stand on business like that. But I think some of them are starting to come around. There's still some stragglers out there because they see that coin. They see those digits on that check, and then they lose themselves. I'm glad to see that as successful as Jaylen Brown is, he's not allowing the industry in which he participates in that allows him to now live the lifestyle that he lives consume him. And hopefully it'll remain that way.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
I wanted to get that off my chest.
Sure.
And now we can start the interview.
You can get it all off your chest.
He said, I just wanted to get that off my chest, and now we can start the interview. We are 6 minutes and 25 seconds into an almost 13-minute video. Jaylen said, I'm going to get this. I'm going to say what I got to say, and then we can get into whatever it is that you want to ask me.
Yes, I'm not going away because I got to tell you something.
And it also goes back to the mindset, like Jago the Roach just said. They said they've been spending this man for black men for 4 years now. This reminds me of some of the stuff that I be seeing on X, where you see a lot of the usual suspects say, oh, us going to these games is helping to pay the salaries of these men. And I'm like, why y'all sitting up there lying? You paying money to go see these players play is not paying them. Number one, you going to see them is not putting money in their pocket. They got paid by the National Basketball Association and Adam Silver. He's the one that's paying them. When they get these endorsements, these like Nike, Adidas, Puma, any of these sports drinks or anything like that, that money comes from that company. You paying money to go see them play is to support the infrastructure of the arena or wherever they are playing. That's where the money is going. You are the upkeep of where they play. Which means if they decide that they want to play somewhere else, your money won't mean a thing. It doesn't even mean a thing when they're playing. Not to them. Let's talk about it. Because the usual suspects, that's the thing that be getting me with them. They be talking about, oh, if it wasn't for us, they wouldn't have millions of dollars. You're right. It's not because of you. You are absolutely right. Oh, I'm just going to stop coming to the games. That'll show them. Show them what exactly? They still got paid. They got paid via a contract. When they signed their name on that line, they got paid millions of dollars. Some of them got signing bonuses just for putting their name. Then they got paid some more money. You didn't do that. But they like to feel so important. Way more important than they actually are. I want y'all to put a pin in that when I do my midday live tomorrow about the controversy surrounding Michael Strahan and how ridiculous it is. Some of you probably already know exactly what I'm talking about. But for those of you who are not and don't research it when I end this live, and y'all just want to wait to see what I'm gonna say, y'all gonna see one of the most ridiculous fake outrages you will probably have seen all year. I promise you that. And notice they only do it with the black athletes. I keep telling you, they are their clansesters. Let's continue.
I don't understand why somebody saying what others may feel about you to hold you back and they know that you've done nothing to deserve it. I don't understand how that's cowardice for them to talk about what somebody else is feeling. Like, for example, I'm looking at you and I think about Bill Russell, how principled he was. I think about Muhammad Ali, how principled he was. I think about Kirk Flood, who was the father, of free agency. When you think about what he did in Major League Baseball, I think about Jackie Robinson integrating the sport of baseball. I think about so many highly educated, highly accomplished, highly principled individual. The word likability is not something that you would attach to them when it came to Madison Avenue and marketability and promotion. So somebody saying this guy is not liked because of that reason, that's not them insulting you. That's not them calling you out. It's them saying the world that we're living in, you're not somebody that's easy to control. You're somebody, you stand on your own and you're your own man.
And guess what, Stephen A? That's one thing no one will ever be able to say about you. You're very easy to control. We've seen that. See, Jaylen Brown scares them. Stephen A. Smith, as boisterous as he is, as he likes to yell and do all that extra stuff that he does week after week, that don't scare nobody. It doesn't. And see, the thing is about Jaylen Brown, he doesn't have to do all of that stuff that Stephen A. Smith does to come off or appear scary. He doesn't have to do all of that. And he still manages to get the masses, well, the usual suspects, quaking in their boots, as they call it. What Stephen A. Smith does, that's just pure entertainment. You either going to shake your head at it or you're going to laugh at it.
Sure.
What's the problem with that?
It's a balance, because it's one, you can critique someone's performance.
Okay.
But then also if you're attacking their character. Like, they didn't just say that I wasn't liked. They said I wasn't marketable. They said I was arrogant. I carried myself with a certain demeanor. And that line gets crossed between critiquing someone's performance, not liking them for whatever reason, and then attacking someone's character. I think journalistic integrity requires it to go both ways. I never had a chance to respond or defend myself. One, because they're never going to reveal themselves. And two, the damage is already done. So,
and when I'm listening to this, and I'm sorry to pause it so much, I feel like this is a way of Jaylen, in a way. I could be wrong, but from what I'm hearing, especially with what just played, he's coming to Stephen A. Smith to try to pull out of him who this unnamed source is. Because I don't know if Stephen A. actually told Jaylen behind the scenes who it was that sent him that text. If he had some journalistic integrity, Stephen A. would tell him exactly who it was. It doesn't even have to be during this interview. And say, look, you have the name, you have the source. What you do with it is your business. But something tells me he did not do that. I could be wrong. I don't know what kind of conversation that Jaylen and Stephen had behind the scenes after this interview was conducted. It would be nice if he did, but I won't hold my breath if he didn't.
when I'm speaking to is the unnamed sources. Like, I can, like, if you speak on it and you say something because we have a relationship, at least I can look at you and we can go back and forth about what it is that we believe or what it is that we don't believe. An unnamed source, like, what is that? You know, and to be honest, it reminds me, I think it has familiarity with when I was entering the draft.
2016 third overall pick.
What was said? Do you remember?
I do not. I'm sorry.
When I got drafted, they said that I was too smart. A source, an unnamed source.
Okay.
Said that I was too smart to be a basketball player.
Now listen to that. He said, well, this is back when he was drafted. He said an unnamed source said he was too smart to play basketball. Another unnamed source. Now that doesn't concern Stephen A. Smith. Why would they say that? They are literally a few syllables away from calling Jaylen Brown the uppity Negro. And when they say he is too smart for basketball, that means he's about his business. He's not about to let this industry ruin him. And they don't like that because he can't be controlled. Stephen A. said it a couple of times. He's defiant. They don't like that. They can't put him on a leash or throw a shot collar around his neck. And it doesn't have to just be Jaylen Brown. It could be any black man in any industry. I'm almost certain black men who work in corporate America who probably make a decent amount of money, 5 to 6 figures a year. Some of them make 5 to 6 figures a month. Will tell you the same type of story. They like, we live this nice lifestyle, live in this nice neighborhood, got this mansion, got these cars, all of that, make all this money. But because of the system, we're still treated like another you know what.
Or something like that, and that would hurt my draft stock because it was a form of questioning authority. And this source, this unnamed source, who now have said
back in 2016.
Back in 2016, it was a very popular, subject at the time, and this source kind of reminds me of that as well, And I actually figured out who that source was.
Okay.
But I know because of your credentials, your background, your journalistic integrity, we never gonna figure out who that one is.
You're not.
Yeah.
You're not.
So, and there it is. There it is right there. Remember how I said, I wonder if Stephen A. would actually have the integrity to actually tell him what the unnamed source was? Jaylen pulled it out of him and said, I know with your journalistic background that you're not going to tell me who it is. And Stephen A. came right back quickly and said, you're not going to find out who it is. He had to find out who the unnamed source was on back in 2016. He had to find that out on his own. So Jaylen, if I was you, I would put on that detective cap again and see who this unnamed source is, unless it's going to be a water under the bridge type of deal for him. And shout out to the builders table for the 5. They said, man, what's happening? Been rocking with you for a long minute. Shout out to the brothers in media doing that work. Gold P, I appreciate it. So that answers my question right there. I asked earlier, would Stephen A. Smith, or I just alluded to it, would Stephen A. Smith tell him or allude to who this unnamed source is? And he said, no, he would not. Craig said Jaylen probably has some ideas of who the source is. He just needs confirmation. That is a good point. That is a good point. Because sometimes when it comes to certain people that put stuff out like that, their talking points might change a little bit, but the pattern doesn't really shake. It doesn't change that much.
Now, I'm not going to let that happen because I protect my sources, but I will tell you this. There's also a line that I wouldn't allow to be crossed. Like if somebody were to call up and to get into your personal business and try to attack you, I'd have never said anything like that. I'd never let something like that come out of my mouth over the airwaves or anything like that. But somebody pointing to this individual that went to Cal, this individual, I want to read something here. At the time that last year, when you agreed to your new contract extension, 5 years, over $300 million. It says here, you're the youngest person to ever hold a lecture at Harvard, became an MIT Media Lab fellow, was offered a NASA internship, became the NBA Players Association youngest vice president at the age of 22 years of age. And when your historic contract was finalized, you were in a robotics session at MIT. Is that?
Now listen to all those credentials that Stephen A. Smith just listed down. This is this is Jaylen Brown's resume, and this was within the last year. That's why they said he's too smart for the NBA. This guy is intelligent. All capital letters. That tells me Jaylen Brown has a grand future behind him. Well, not behind him, in front of him when he retires from this league. I would not be surprised if later down the line, after Jaylen Brown retires, that he becomes a billionaire. Because he just seems like he has all his ducks in a row. He seems like he has everything lined up the way that it should be, which also is a testament to how he was raised. Shout out to his parents. The people that were educating him, shout out to his professors and his teachers. To the people he had around him, shout out to his friends and associates. To the people that are handling him now, his agent, his manager, his financier, all of that. Because while he's doing this, he also has a solid team around him, which also says a lot. I'm putting a pin in that. I have a feeling Jaylen Brown's going to become a billionaire. And I hope that he does. And I hope he protects all of his investments.
That's true.
That's true.
So with all of that being true, I look at somebody like yourself and I don't consider it a negative, because the words that emanated out of somebody's mouth about what was being felt about you forced us to look into your background even more and ask the question, what the hell is wrong with him?
Absolutely.
Look at his intellect.
Absolutely.
Look at the fact that he doesn't get in trouble. Look at the fact that he's a great player on both ends of the floor. It forced us all to look at you, and then it had me screaming, why the hell isn't he all NBA? Why the hell isn't he on the Olympic team? You see what I'm saying?
It might have been misconstrued.
Right.
It may be in my tone, but my issue was never with you. It was with the unnamed source.
But I knew that.
I think
because because your family told me.
I do hold you accountable for your platform. I think we should hold each other accountable.
Right.
You have the biggest and largest platform. Mm-hmm. I feel like one of the biggest reporters in the U.S. Mm-hmm. So I think that should have some dissension at the end of the day.
I had no problem with that.
Who I always wanted to address, who I couldn't wait, was this source.
Right.
Yeah, that's really all it goes down to it for Jaylen Brown is he's trying to do the Jedi mind trick on Stephen A. Smith to get that source. He is trying his hardest to get that source up out of him. I'm telling you, he might put on his detective cap and be like Alex Cross and find out for himself who that source is if he can't get it out of Stephen A. Smith, which it sounds to me is not going to happen. Good luck. And even if he doesn't find out who the source is, when you have credentials like that, do you really care what a mindless sheep, a mindless lamb has to say about you? They don't got nothing going for themselves. So, of course, it's easy to attack this man. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of the usual suspects. But anyway, y'all, that's pretty much the end of that. But I will drop the link because I'm sure some of you want to come up and speak to this. So here is your time to come up and speak to what you just heard. And if you haven't smashed the like button, please be sure to go ahead and smash that like button. I would greatly appreciate it. Iron Will says, and Jaylen Brown gets done dirty by the refs. Yeah, like I said, it's a all hands on deck kind of attack thing that's going on here. When you hear the credentials listed off like that, I didn't even know he had a resume like that. That is impressive. That is very impressive. I'm more impressed by that than how many shots he can put up on that board. That impresses me. That makes him really stand out amongst his peers. And you want to know what's even more interesting? I'm sure there are many more of his peers like that in the NBA. But because they don't want to be attacked, quote unquote, they hold themselves in reservation. Mel Selector says he knows the source 300 mil can find out anything. That is true. But I put the link in the chat if anybody would like to come up and discuss this, go right on ahead and hit the link. Jesse said, isn't this the same brother who said he was going to build a Black Wall Street in Boston? Yes, he said that he wanted to build a Black Wall Street in Boston. I think right now him and Jason Kidd collab to do one out in Oakland, but he said he would like to do one in Boston. I said that, and you probably weren't here when we talked about it, but he is going to be a task because we know Boston's history back then and current present day. But I feel like if he gets the amount of support that he can get, then I think it can be pulled off. But shout out to everyone who is present in this chat. I really wanted to talk about this this evening. I hope everybody. Let me ask y'all, since while we're waiting to see if anyone comes up, how was y'all day? How was your day? My day was pretty good. I got my hair braided today. It needed it. Jason said, it's okay. Yeah, I missed the ball. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's what he said. Queen Mommy said Boston is very racist, just like Virginia Beach, Virginia. Not just Virginia Beach, Queen Mommy, a good chunk of Virginia. I always tell y'all, if the place has a burg or a ville, 9 times out of 10, it's probably anti-Black, with the exception of Forestville, Maryland. That's not, you ain't got nothing to worry about over there. Forestville, Maryland is majority Black. Dre Matt, hey, what's going on, Dre? And also shout out to you for handling business over there on your channel. I won't say what it is, but we know, you know what I'm talking about. Oh, we got Hurricane Niecy done blown up into the panel. What's going on?
Good evening, Tori, and good evening, family in the chat.
Good evening.
Ugh. I don't watch sports, so I can't. I like the audio, which you played, but we all know Stephen A. is a dickhead, period.
Yeah.
So that's all I can say. Now, to your other question, how was everyone's day?
Mm-hmm.
I was coming home. I left my job. It was mid-60s. I could get home in 15 minutes. It dropped down to the 30s.
Oh, that's a 30-degree drop. That's crazy.
But yeah, we got that cold front, and they call it snow, and yeah.
Oh yeah, because where you at, it's like a lot of mountains out there.
Mm-hmm. But I live in the valley in Charleston,
okay.
you know. So
okay, I know what I know about Charleston.
Yeah. But anywho, I can't wait for your Saturday upload so we can discuss in detail.
Yeah,
I might as well ask you now.
Okay.
But we got to be careful because everybody may have not seen it yet.
That is true. That is true.
So
that's why I waited, because I wanted to wait a week or a little over a week to actually do it. That way, hopefully by that time, people will have already seen it, because there are some spoilers in the review. I don't do a full blown spoiler of it, like talking about every little thing, because that would have been a over 2 hour long video. The video is about 22 minutes long, but I just go over I basically go over 3 major components of the show that I liked, that I can see why they renewed it for a season 2. That's basically what I do.
Well, I must say, I will took the first 5 minutes of the first episode, and I made myself only watch 1 episode per day. But the Nana Mama character, I said, I've seen her in other stuff. She's a good, excellent actress. Juanita Jennings is her name.
Yeah.
And I got to looking. I said, yeah, I can see why I reminded you of her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah. I said, well, you know, I own it. Yeah, but I loved her hair.
Mm-hmm.
It was beautiful. But anyway, that's all I got to say.
Okay.
All
Thanks
right.
for coming up.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
You too. Shout out to Miss Nisi for coming up. And yes, Iron Will, we was talking about Alex Cross. That video is going to go up on Saturday. You know, like I told y'all when I changed my schedule up as far as the upload, I said anything I upload on Saturday is going to be like entertainment or review based, whether it's a show or a movie. So that's what's going to go up on Saturday. AW1, what's going on?
Hey, Torian. Hey, Chad. And hey, Miss Nisi. By the way, I'm supposed to say something about Miss Nisi right quick. She reminds me a lot of my mama.
I think Miss Nisi reminds a lot of people in here of their mother or a grandmother.
Yeah, she's definitely family. But anyway, up to Jaylen Brown. I'm not surprised about this brother, man. He's always been well spoken. Was always down with the community. I'm gonna tell you something too. As a basketball fan, I wanted him. Me and my older brother, we wanted him to come to the Clippers so bad when he was a free agent. It's like, man, I hope they throw money at him. Nah, but Boston locked him up as they should. I wanted him to play with. I was hoping he would, come to the Clippers. Maybe play with BG because we had Blake Griffin at the time. Still my favorite Clipper of all time. Who they did wrong, but yeah, injuries got in the way, and he just retired. Good luck to that brother. Yeah. But back to Jaylen Brown. Yeah, I'm proud of him, and they are doing him wrong. We know why though, Tori. They don't like the heterosexual black man that stands on business. They hate that about us, especially a brother that stands on business. So like you mentioned, Black Wall Street. You think they want to see another Black Wall Street? Hell no. We do.
Yeah. They heard that, and them bells and them alarm systems went off.
Exactly.
Like in the Purge, when the Aaron Purge happened and you hear that siren, that's exactly what happened.
And the fact that he didn't make... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. But the fact that he did not make the Olympic team, and they put Derek White, and nothing against Derek White. He can play on my team. He ain't an all-star. The Olympics team is supposed to be for the best of the best. And his brother just led his team to the championship. I'm sorry, nothing against Jason Tatum. But Jaylen Brown was the best player on that team in that finals. And he got the Finals MVP for a reason. So, but yeah, that's all I got to say. I mean, keep doing what you're doing, Torian. And you in the chat, y'all have a good evening.
You too. Shout out to AW1. Next up is Jonathan. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Torian?
What's going on?
I'm going good. Just wanted to say shout out to kudos to Jaylen Brown for going off, calling out Stephen A for his BS before he started answering his interviewing questions. He's stated that, hey, I'm an NBA player, but I'm not finna be like controlled and be a puppet for them like you are. It kind of remind me how Antonio went off on Jason, for like always disrespecting the black athlete. I'm talking about calling him, just going off on him about that so much that it kind of like put Jason in breathing mode, having him thinking like, oh my God. Also, him and Angel Reese, they're like in the same category, like leaving college, playing basketball, but having plan Bs, like having a plan B. Yeah. Because, basketball, a lot of people who retire from basketball, they don't really have much going on with themselves.
Especially if they don't have any, especially if they don't have, like I said, like endorsements or anything really to fall back on. Because the thing is, those checks are only going to people who are active. Like they only sign to people who are actively playing for their organizations. But the thing is, you have to make a name for yourself while you are in there so you can get those endorsements so that can carry you after you retire. And then with those endorsements, make good investments that can still carry you forward as your life progresses, because the shelf life of an athlete is very short. A lot of people think that an athlete has like 20 years. They don't. The shelf life of the average athlete is less than 10 years. And that's the average athlete. Some can go surpass that, but you got to think they are going through it physically. Like they are pushing their bodies to the limit. Like I'll just throw out LeBron James, for instance. This man has been in the league since his late teens. This man is 40 or 41. He's now playing with his son. Like, let that sink in for a second there. This man is playing with his son on the same team. Like that should tell you something about the longevity of his career, but that's not the typical athlete's career. That's a rarity. That's like lightning in a bottle. And it won't be long now before LeBron ends up retiring, because really I think he only stayed in this long just to have this historical thing to attach to say, hey, we're the first father-son duo to play together in the NBA. No one, okay, now that you got that, no one's going to take that. So if he was to announce that he was retiring at the end of the season, then no one would be surprised.
Exactly. Oh, I highly doubt that he's going to retire anytime soon because of Bronny, because he has another son that's good too, and I think he's better than Bronny. And he's waiting on him to come into the league to play with him.
How old is this son?
I think he's like 16, 17. So I say about in 3-4 years we'll see him in the league, and LeBron will be like 44, 45 still playing. And once he played like one good season with both his sons, then he'll retire. Because they said that he was going to play until he plays with his sons or against his sons in NBA. That's a hell of an accomplishment. But that the situation with him and Bronny was nepotism, because he done rushed Bronny to the league, and he ain't really about nothing. He ain't really doing good in the professional league because he got rushed into it when his season was mediocre at USC. So he should have stayed his sophomore year and, progress from there and then see about drafting him. But LeBron said, nah, he's coming into the league. Now he's ready. He's better than half of them. And I know where that comes from. It's that same talking point that the Caitlin Clark fans use every 24/7. But yeah, and I'm gonna be honest. Stephen A. Smith, him and Jason Whitlock, they both deserve everything come at them, because they the ones, and Charles Barkley, I ain't gonna let him out too. All of them were the ones that was pushing this thing about Caitlin Clark being the best in the league, or she brought the seats in, did this and did that for WNBA, and all the media puppets did was just fall right into it. But we looking at them like, are they crazy? It's like they obviously didn't pay attention to the whole Caitlin Clark thing. Remember, she can't play defense, and she turns the ball over. She's done things that's not even half. It's not enough to bring our eyes to the game, but she brought eyes to the other side, who likes the logo 3-pointer, and I'm like, that's not going to work in the playoffs. It's not going to win a championship. Physical, tough basketball will. But yeah, I blame Stephen A. Smith and everyone else for pushing that narrative. And I'm glad, Jaylen Brown is getting on his ass about that, because Jaylen Brown, he won that championship with defense and physical basketball, not shooting threes. Shout out to him and Jason Tatum. But yeah, Jaylen Brown's the MVP because he played the whole thing for real. He played the real basketball. So forget what Stephen A. Is saying. I think he's full of it. Sooner or later he gonna be throwing out his ass where everyone else, sucking up to all these people who could sign their checks. I'm gonna tell you, this whole selling your soul for money, it's not worth it. I wouldn't do it for a check. I'll just have to start my own platform and get my check from there and speak the real, and not suck up to the big bosses for a big check. It's not worth it. All right. Well, I'm glad.
No, go ahead.
I'm gonna let someone else get on, because I'm sure they got some. Because I'm sure you got a whole lot of people that got some stuff to say about Stephen A. Smith. So we can give him the opportunity. Be one.
Shout out to Jonathan for coming up. Next, we got Jay the Informant. What's going on?
Yo, how's everybody doing? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
Hey, I just wanted to actually speculate on Jaylen Brown, man. I always thought he was like the centerpiece in that Boston Celtics team. From what I've seen with them, like, I mean, you can always pick the player that you will trade. or who was the star of the team. And Jaylen Brown was always the star of the team to me. It was never Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum, he did pretty well on the team, but I never figured out why they tried to make him the star of the team because he doesn't have the energy. He doesn't bring in the points. He doesn't have the defense. He has the size on him. He has the I think he's a small forward or whatever he might be, and Jaylen is a shooting guard. I mean, but Jaylen Brown carried the team so long, and I believe he was averaging like 28 points at one point and 29 points that he carried them, in my opinion, to the Boston Celtics to the championships. And without the championship, without Jaylen, they wouldn't have won that championship last year.
Right.
So I mean, I have to give him his credit. Now, when it comes to this whole thing with Stephen A. Smith, I guess Stephen A. Smith. When was that interview done, by the way?
It was done recently. I think maybe about. Hold on, let me look it up for you, because it was very recent, probably within the last 2 weeks.
I'm gonna say that he's trying to start some controversy up, man. I guess political season's over with.
It was 4 weeks ago.
So he needs something else to drift on. So I guess after political season's over with, he can try to, I guess, get some clickbait stuff. But him not
the last full week. It was the last full week of October when it was posted. Okay. Remember this unnamed source, because I don't know if you watched the video that I did today about this, but that unnamed source that quote unquote text him, that was back in like June. But the thing is, at that time that finals was going on, they were busy winning, so he couldn't confront him then. So when he had the opportunity to sit down with him then 4 weeks ago, then that's when he brought it up.
Yeah,
like I said, he probably didn't want. Like I said, he probably didn't want to talk to him over the phone about it. He said, "I'll just address it when I'm sitting in front of you," which I applaud him for doing.
Yeah, because if you say something like that, you can, I guess, scare them away, and he might not have gotten an interview or whatever. But I think with Stephen A. Smith, man, he wants some controversy. But when you do stuff like that, and maybe there is a source, maybe there's not a source, and he just made it all up. But Stephen A. Smith, he want to pull up some drama, man. You listed the accomplishments of Jaylen Brown, him in Harvard, doing everything that he's done, and people, I guess, seeing him as a threat and all that stuff. But I don't see how Stephen A. Smith could say what he said, but not list the source. Because I would have said who the person was, in my opinion. And this person has to be high up above Stephen A. Smith for Stephen A. Smith to try to keep him, I guess, a secret or whatever. Because we all saw how Stephen A. Smith defended Dana or whatever that dude named from UFC after he hit his wife, and he was like, "Oh well, relationships have troubled times and all that stuff." But I can't see.
And I think another reason why Jaylen was so adamant about it is because remember when they were talking, he was saying about back in 2016 when it was another unnamed source that he found out who it was. Those unnamed sources putting stuff out there can ruin somebody. And you can hear him when he's talking about it. He says he's all about his character. He's all about integrity. He said, you can say whatever you want, but if I feel like my character is under attack, I'm going to have to address you. Because you can literally ruin what I and my team have worked so hard for. And it can happen. And it can happen. It has happened. Mm-hmm. Reputations have gotten destroyed behind some unnamed sources.
I agree 100%. So this whole thing that he's kind of, I guess, aggressive and all that stuff, he's mean looking. I don't see how that's a bad thing in the NBA where you're trying to be like the dominant person. One thing that we knew Kobe Bryant for was him being the Mamba. And the Mamba isn't a friendly animal. You know what I'm saying? He was aggressive. He had the lockdown defense. He could score. He can, pick you. You know what I'm saying? He can lead a team. Now, a lot of people didn't like Kobe Bryant because he was so determined to get, accomplish what he accomplished. But at the same time, that's what made Kobe Bryant who he was. At the same time, that's why Kobe Bryant got all those deals. That's why Kobe Bryant won all those titles. And I see the same thing with Jaylen Brown. I just think that Jaylen Brown is being put behind Jason Tatum for a reason. But if he was to leave, I would think that Boston Celtics will take a dive because you need that type of talent on your team. And he kind of reminds me a little bit of Kobe Bryant, but time will tell. But I don't see why whoever this guy that Stephen A. Smith was trying to hide, why he's not seeing him as marketable, or is that some gimmick that this Stephen A. Smith? Maybe the guy doesn't even exist. I'll say it like that. There's a chance that he doesn't even exist, and Stephen A. Smith just saying stuff just to get some rumors started and a controversy started, so ESPN can start pushing out. Oh, who said it? Who said it? Was it this person? With stuff like that. But that's all I want to say, man.
Appreciate you coming up. Shout out to Jay the Informant. Next, we got Dre Mack. What's going on, Dre?
I'll make this quick because
wait, hold on, Dre. Wait a minute, Dre. Wait, hold. Dre, your connection is kind of choppy. Like I can't. It's like it's going in and out. Try dropping down. Maybe you need to drop down and come back up.
Can you still hear me? Okay.
Wait, say something.
Can you still hear me? Or is it still the connection still bad?
Okay, this is better.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm working in the work, so that's probably why. So I'm gonna try to make this quick. When you start talking about journalistic integrity, especially in sports, you got to go back to Jim Rome. When Jim Rome went at Jim Everett, and Jim Everett got tired of Jim Rome keep talking crazy to him about his performance, not about about him, not about his performance. Kept calling him she, kept just disrespecting him. And what is happening is that Stephen A. Smith, the Jason Whitlocks, a lot of these sports reporters, Skip Bayless, were making their names off of talking crazy about these athletes, or saying, or an anonymous source has said X, Y, and Z. And when these athletes confront him, Kwame Brown was one of them who, got on this YouTube platform and said, "Hey, enough is enough. We you know what I mean? Enough is enough now." And they're looking like, oh, well, the athlete is crazy now, or the athlete is this, or an anonymous source is saying this. This is where we're at right now with a lot of these sports reporters. There's no journalistic integrity. There's no, hey, we're gonna do the right thing. We're gonna, we're gonna look at these athletes like human beings, and we're gonna say the right thing. They're not doing that now. They're just doing stuff to be able to generate buzz. And now that Stephen A. Smith is an executive, a high-ranking executive at ESPN, he's going to say, "Oh, I got an anonymous source," and not going to give it up because he knows it's going to create more buzz for him. It's going to create buzz for ESPN, and the people that's behind them paying a check is liking all of that. And remember, ESPN was firing people left and right because it wasn't making a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when you look at what's going on with Jaylen Brown, shout out to my Boston Celtics, big Boston Celtics fan. Shout out to them. Shout out to Jaylen. These guys are starting to say, you know what? I'm done with that. What's up with the source? I'm gonna come to you and come to your platform and say, what's up with the source? Which a lot of these athletes need to do more.
Yeah.
Because where is the journalistic integrity? Of course, I did the video on my channel because people just run with these sources and don't think these people are human. Like, you don't think you're never going to run into this person. And then when you run into this person or whatever, or run into someone they know, then you like, oh, well, I didn't say that, or try to clean it up. Don't try to clean it up now. What's going on with that? So shout out to him. Shout out to that brother. I remember when he got drafted. The brother is highly intelligent. Somebody said that they believe he's the best player on the team. He's the best all-around player on the team. Just let me, as a fan, he's the best all-around player on that team. But I love his intelligence. I want all athletes to go out to these journalists. Stop being scared of a Stephen A. Smith and Jason Whitlock and all that. Knock them in their forehead with this knowledge and let's go. Well, I'm gonna run out of here, man. But I appreciate you, brother, and I will talk to you next time.
All right, peace.
All right.
Shout out to Dre Mack for coming up. And if y'all haven't done so already, make sure y'all subscribe to the Dre Mack show. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and put his channel in the chat because he be putting in that work, especially on a lot of these individuals who deserve it, because my God, let me see. Let me go ahead and retrieve his link right quick. And I'm going to post it right there in the chat. And I'm going to post it right there. And if y'all go and subscribe, make sure y'all tell them that Torian sent you. All right, next up we got Church. What's going on?
How you doing, Tori? How's your day going?
It's going good.
Perfect. I'm driving, so I'm gonna be very quick about this. I'm not gonna pretend to know everything about basketball, but I do know something about commentary and law. And one thing that I do know is that commentators are not journalists. That's just what it is. So they shouldn't even have the protections that journalists have when it comes to sources. There needs to be some sort of like committee or something to where every sports commentator must run their sources through that committee. So if this person comes out and just lie and say I have a source and they really doesn't, then there can be action on it, because these people mess with other people's lives, and 9 times out of the 10, the other people that they mess with are black, and they go at it and they go at it. They just use these same tactics against us. So Stephen A. Smith, or as I call him, and as I've heard you call him several times, Stephen Asshole Smith, he should literally be removed. And all sports commentators, to be frank with you, even Chuck, that Blob Pearl, all of them, they need to lose the ability of protection when it comes to these sources, because it's not the same thing as somebody who's trying to blow the whistle at a company and it gets put into the news. You get what I'm saying? These are two different, totally different things. But
Right.
much love to you. I appreciate you for having me up. B1.
B1. All right. I think Church might have been the last person to come up and speak, but shout out to each and every one of you who came up and spoke this evening to this topic. Now, tomorrow's topic, my God, 12 noon, y'all. The midday stream tomorrow. I have a feeling it's going to be a lot of opinions, a lot to say about tomorrow. So if y'all know about it, y'all understand why I said that. And for those of y'all who are unaware of the story, y'all will just find out tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern time. That one's going to be a doozy. So be prepared. That's all I got to say. But with that being said, y'all, thank you for coming to this chat to discuss briefly with me about this situation. Now we got that out all on the table. Now we good to go. Shout out to all of the members, all the subs, of course, all the members, all the people on Patreon, all the mods, the replay gang, all of that good stuff. Everyone who's following me on various different platforms, I appreciate each and every one of you. With that being said, y'all have a good night, be safe, and be one.